Good morning, everybody. My name's Gavin Cooper, and I'm CEO of an Irish company called AltaSeal, and we're on a mission really to redefine permanent female contraception. I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of the organisation itself and dig in a little bit more detail as we go on. But number one, we have a highly experienced team. We have a large and growing market opportunity with over 219 million women relying on permanent contraception. We have a very clear, differentiated technology. We have so far up to 7 years worth of data with 0 pregnancies in 92 patients. We have a very strong core IP position and a very clear regulatory pathway. I always say, surround yourself with the best people you can to make your technologies work, and that's something we've been able to achieve. And I'm going to start with my medical advisory board because this really is the creme de la creme of women's health. You have Dr. Barbara Levy, past president of the AAGL, Dr. Linda Bradley, past president of the AAGL, Kelly Wright, future president of the AAGL, Andreas Furco, past president of the ESGE, and Dr. Edward Avantash, past medical director for Hologic, for Adiana, and for Femisys. Then we go up to a small team, and it's been very interesting to see a lot of the discussions that take place. Some companies have these great massive teams, and it's like, I can't afford to have the kind of team that I want, so I've got my core group here of 5 people. James Coleman is the founder. He's a clinician himself, and he designed a technology called KELT, which was a femoral artery closure, and that's in about 200,000 patients. This is the same technology, the same material, pretty much the same delivery mechanism as well that's now being used in the fallopian tube. So we know that the material works, we know that there are no issues, and we formed a separate company about 10 years ago. So, 1936, it's always good to go back for the past and then look at the future. A surgeon by the name of Bosch did the first recorded laparoscopic female sterilization procedure in 1936. Now, if I brought Bosch forward 100 years almost to an operating theatre today, yes, it would look nicer, yes, there'd be more lights, yes, it would be cleaner, the car park would be bigger, the nurses would have more attitude, definitely, there's no question about that. But the instrumentation and the procedure has not changed. And I'm sure he'd scratch his head and go, but everything else has improved. Everything else has become more efficient, better. And we're still treating women with a highly invasive surgical procedure. So we know there's 219 million women, roughly, rely on permanent sterilization worldwide. That's 24%. And I see it as a problem. And I see it as a problem because it's an invasive surgical procedure that requires a general anesthetic, that includes scarring, risk of infection, risk of damage to vessels and organs. We know patients are getting bigger, so they're going to be less suitable for surgery. And we have a 3 to 4 day recovery. So my solution is the product called AltaSeal. So it's non-invasive, it's an office procedure. It's walk in, walk out. It's a lunchtime procedure. It requires no pain relief, no anesthesia, and it's half the price. When we work out price, normally with new technologies, everything's more expensive than the current standard. That delays bringing those technologies to market. We are half the price of the standard that's taking place at the moment. Now that's the cost to the facility. The patient on average in the US, if they're paying for a laparoscopic tubal sterilization, are paying $18,000. We can do that for half with better outcomes. So let's talk the US as we're here. Right now, there's over 800,000 women a year are undergoing an invasive surgical procedure. General anesthesia. And those of you that are really good with numbers are going to go, 800,000 doesn't equate to 425 procedures an hour. It does if you take 45 weeks of a year, 8 hours of operating a day and 5 days a week. Okay, so by the time I finish my talk, there's going to be roughly another 50 to 60 women having to have a general anesthetic with trocar insertion on a procedure that was designed in 1936. 45% right now of the annual 6 million pregnancies in the US are unintended. That's a big, big number because there isn't the forms of types of contraception available. Now, with the Roe v. Wade judgment reversal, we're going to see an even bigger increase in permanent contraception needs for patients. But sadly, termination is not an option. It will not be an option. So we are going to see far more births for patients that aren't wanted. We did a small survey last year. 68% of the women in the US in that survey would want to consider permanent hysteroscopic contraception instead of having to go under an invasive surgical procedure. Device itself, very simple, 2 parts, delivery mechanism and the implant itself. The implant is made of stainless steel. It's biocompatible material. It's very straightforward to use. It's placed in a hysteroscope through the vagina, cervix, and into the actual uterine cavity. And I'll show you some video in a second. But overall, what you can see here, the green light does not work on this pointer. Right, okay, implant in the tube. Imagine your cocktail umbrella, paper cocktail umbrella that pops open. We've got 2 of those effectively in stainless steel, but 1 distal and 1 proximal that occludes and blocks the tube. We play the video. You see 2 parts. So as you can see, cocktail umbrella pops open and blocks, occludes mechanically a tubes. This is in a real-life patient. You can see the opening of the fallopian tube. You see the device being inserted. And then the clinician will clockwise rotate the handle, one way to deploy 1 set of wings, and then counterclockwise the other way to deploy the 2nd set of wings. Press the release button. And there we have occluded tube. We can see some other patients here. As I said, we did 92 patients. Okay, we've captured all their images. And if you see on the left, there's an HSG, which is a radio contrast medium, in the fallopian tubes. The tubes that are open follow through. The tubes that are closed with the AltaSeal device are blocked. Therefore, we do not get pregnancy. So, current birth control options. This speaks for itself. This is permanent. It's an office procedure. No anesthesia required. No hormones. IVF still possible. 92 women in 7 years worth of data. 0 pregnancies. So when we talk about risk, we're hopefully devaluing, the risk for potential investors because we've already proven that this technology works. Another sideline with this device is IVF. There is a condition called hydrosalpinx. Hydrosalpinx affects up to 30% of women that undergo IVF. And it's a toxic fluid that leaks from the ovary through the fallopian tube. And it hates sperm. It kills sperm. It's like, no, sperm, you're not coming here. I'm killing you with this toxic fluid. The only way to prevent that is to remove the tube. Again, another invasive procedure. But we can block the tube with the AltaSeal device. And so in a small study of 17 women, we had 10 healthy babies born to 8 women. Again, quite a high percentage of success in the IVF field. Endometrial ablation. Contraindication to endometrial ablation is pregnancy because there is no endometrium lining left in the uterine cavity. Therefore, you can't have a fetus embedded in there. So another 500,000 patients a year in the US will require permanent contraception after an endometrial ablation. As I've got 1 minute left, I'll speed up. We're starting our regulatory pathway. Our Q-sub goes in the next 4 weeks, and we're intending on starting our first case is August, September of this year. We've already established our centres. We'll be looking for around 400 patients. It will be the final number with a 12-month follow-up. And outcome measures will be pregnancy rate. Obviously, we want a 0 pregnancy rate. We don't want a high pregnancy rate, reliance, and safety. What am I here for? Not just to tell you about how wonderful the product is, but I'm looking for funds. I need 5 million to get us partway through our IDE study. And to take us all the way to commercialization to 2027, I'm looking for 25 million for a market that's worth in excess of $2 billion with a massive unmet need. Currently no alternative to surgery. There's no scarring. It speaks for itself. Women deserve a better option at the end of the day instead of having an invasive surgical procedure. So thank you. Thank you for putting women's health first.